Lynn Belvitt is a dynamic young woman who hails from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. She has had head spinning triumphs in her young life and has operated in such companies as NASA and Goldman Sachs. A graduate of Spelman College, Lynn went on to achieve a master's in business administration from Duke University. While it may be difficult to consider, she has mastered the art of amalgamating her complex skill sets into a pathway to becoming an expert in human capital for healthcare systems. She is a top consultant for Deloitte, where she speaks with, strategizes for, and tracks the execution of plans for executive leadership. She not only made space at the table where Blacks and other minorities are few, she has a voice and a brilliant mind to offer that keep her at that table. She is committed to ensuring that ways are created for others like her, and when they get the chance, they have sustainability that is as good or greater than hers. Not to be all consumed by work, Lynn is an advocate for personal time and reprieve. She believes in maximizing her time spent with family, friends, including her Sisters of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated Eta Kappa chapter, because it serves as a source of energy that propels her through the work week. Lynn, I stand as a cheerleader, celebrating your greatness. Let nothing stand in the way of you and victory. In your words, continue to show people the possible. Good day, everyone, and welcome to a special segment of Business Acumen with Cross Cultural Talks. I am your host, Robinette Cross, and today we're actually doing a virtual interview. I have a very special guest with me. She is my Spelman sister. She is a woman who really is doing so many things that it's hard to keep up with her. She is all over. She is a woman about the business, about her business, and her name is Miss Lynn Belvitt. I just love this woman. I just love to see her doing so many things that really encourage and inspire. So I just want to say thank you today, Lynn, for joining us on the program.
I'm so excited to chat with you today and just really dive in. And, the Spelman connection is strong.
The Spelman connection is so strong. I love my Spelman sisters. I really do. I mean, really, it's such a unique place, right? That just fosters all kinds of great relationships and has women who are it raises up women who are about the business, women who get it done. And so it's just always, I oftentimes forget about that when I hear other people talking about them not necessarily knowing what a sisterhood is. And it's so foreign to me. That's like, I can't believe you don't know what that feels like. And then I'm like, oh, right. The reason why I know is because we are such a strong sisterhood.
Yeah, no, all the time. It's like, is it a sorority? No, it's actually school.
Isn't a sorority? Well, really, I mean, it's school. It's school, but the sisterhood is so real. So I'm just so proud of you. I'm proud of all the things that God is doing in your life and for you, and really excited to dive in and talk about all the things that you're doing.
Awesome. Great. Yes. Happy to be here.
Fantastic. So tell us a little bit about yourself, about your background, where you're from, where, of course, we know where you attended college, but then you actually have like high school pride, grad school pride. So tell us about, you are so proud. Just tell us about all those things, and then let's just end this set of questions with what you now are doing.
Sure. So where I'm from, I'm very prideful. I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Not New Orleans. I am from the capital of Baton Rouge. And attended McKinley Senior High. I know you joked about it, but very prideful of that. It's the first Black high school in Louisiana. So, if you're like over the age of maybe even 65, 70 now, you went to McKinley High if you were Black living in Louisiana. So,
wow.
Historical ties there. And then from there, I went to Spelman and really enjoyed my time there. I had a lot of cousins that went to Spelman and Morehouse, and just walking onto that campus, as I'm sure you know, like you just felt at home. And I knew that was a place for me, and enjoyed my time at Spelman. And then I am also very prideful of my grad school. I went to Duke University, where I received my MBA. Actually just had a little gathering at my house last night. There's a big basketball game last night, Duke versus UNC. And I'm happy today, if that says anything. So yeah, so, you know, went to Spelman and did chemistry, mathematics there, double major, some NASA research. It was very, very interesting undergrad experience. We headed off to pharmacy school, but somehow ended up on Wall Street. For my last summer internship, I did an investment banking analyst internship at Goldman Sachs in New York. And like, honestly, the rest is history from there. I worked at Goldman for about 3 years after college in banking, and I actually did some human capital work there. And then I went to business school at Duke. And that brings me to what I'm doing now. For the past 7 years, I went directly from business school into consulting. And so now I work for Deloitte Consulting, specifically in our human capital consulting practice, and even more particularly with hospitals and healthcare systems. So I'm very in tune to healthcare. You know, I have to watch CNN and all the news stations all the time to keep up with regulatory, to be able to best advise my clients on strategic ways of first of all, their strategy and vision, but then how does that translate into the business of people? You know, what are the people impacts over those strategy and business decisions? And I love getting those aha moments from clients when, you know, one decision can lead to maybe 20 impacts.
Wow.
And so really unpacking that for them, it's a challenge, but it's also exciting. And really having that value at a high level, you know, a strategy that I designed for a $5 billion healthcare system is being implemented, right? Of course, I'm behind the scenes, but it's just cool to see that you had the influence on that. So kind of what I'm doing now.
Phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Whew. I'm so inspired. Okay. I'm so inspired. You are phenomenal. You're phenomenal.
Thanks for having it. I love it.
You're welcome. Thank you. Listen, I can't, because I'm processing as you're telling me all of the things that you have done in our short life, because despite what anybody would think, we are so young and fabulous. So
yes, oh yes.
Oh yes, right? We are just entering really the second quarter of our lives. So we're not even at the halfway point. And just to think of all the things that you have accomplished in such a short period of time, I pray that you are extremely proud of all the work that you have done, because I am, as your Spelman sister, so proud of you. The sheer fact, and you're humble about it. You are so humble about the fact that you are so brilliant.
Yeah, so you know, you do. We can talk about it later. You do have to toot your own horn sometimes.
So that will come up.
You gotta do it.
But no, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So how is it in your, I know that you now work for Deloitte as a consultant, and one of the things that you and I talked about off camera when we were prepping for our conversation was that you are one of the only African Americans in your field, or in your company. And so what does that look like, or what has that experience been like for you?
Yeah, so it's tough, you know, and what I would say is I am one of very few African Americans in my practice, and you know, in my level of leadership, and so it's tough, you know, but unfortunately it's become the norm. You know, I'm not expecting, you know, when I start a new client, or you know, I start a new engagement, I actually don't even expect anymore, unfortunately, to see someone that looks like me. Again, like I said, at my level, right? And so, you know, for myself, you know, I say, like, if you have a seat at the table, you have a voice. You know, I always tell people that, like, if you have a seat at the table, make sure that they know why you're here. They invited you there. They want to hear what you have to say. They want to hear what you think. And I feel like so many times people stop at like, I made it to the table. But it's like, okay,
Right.
well, like, what are you going to do? Are you here to take notes, or are you here to be a part of the conversation? And so I think that's what the tough part is a lot with minorities, is that like they think, oh, I made it, like I've reached the top because I'm at the table. Like you can also be removed from the table. So, definitely make sure you have some value to add once you get there. I also say in my position, being a Black woman as well, like sometimes I feel like so many of us take on the world on our shoulders when we reach a certain platform. Like I don't go into every meeting thinking that like I'm representing for all Black women. If I fail, they fail.
Right.
And, I always try to coach folks. It's like, don't put that unwanted pressure or stress on yourself.
Right.
Now, what I do need you to do is to represent, own your piece of the pie.
Right.
Just in my particular area in healthcare, to be candid, I work with a lot of older white men. So for me, it's a double whammy. I'm a Black woman. If they're not discounting me for my race, I'm definitely being discounted for my gender. And so when I say, when you're in these forums to represent, I go into every meeting to, I use every moment as an opportunity to, shake up a bias, to debunk a myth around, just the way you engage with Black women, with, how we perform, how we present. It's 2018, and you'll be amazed at some of the perceptions that are still around, that you have to navigate daily. And so it can be exhausting, but that's all the more encouragement and motivation to bring others along. And so I may be one of few, but I want more. I want more people that look like me at my level, and that's piece of the task or challenge I've given myself to do.
Right. You have just released so many nuggets. I was over here as you were talking, writing down some of the phrases that you use. I'm just going to read back some of the things that people need to make sure they take away that you said. You said, make sure when you get a seat at the table, make sure they know why you're there. Make sure they know why you're there. Don't just be satisfied with the seat because you can be removed from the table. Don't get removed from the table. Don't get so obsessed with what the table looks like that you forget why you're there, because it is so easy, because of the myths, because of the bias with gender and race, to easily have a slip. If you get too infatuated with being at the table, then you can be more quick. There's less grace given to you to even stay there.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you have just dropped so many nuggets already, Lynn, and I know that has segued into your passion for mentorship and cultivation. So I'm going to go into that next question. You actually have made it a part of your life's mission to cultivate and to mentor more brown people, specifically African Americans, to not only make it to your level, but to be sustained at it. And so why don't you tell us about that, your mentorship and your cultivation of the relationship with other minorities?
Yes. So not to be a 2-week cliche, but I'm pretty sure everyone has seen Black Panther. I think that is like a very good example for how like we all, as a minority community, rallied together behind this one film and like really showed our buying power and our interest at the box office for this awesome film.
Right.
It's the same way in corporate, and being able to bring people along. Like, okay, so having a seat at the table, right? If I'm at the table, I want somebody else that looks like me at the table. So like if we actually combine our forces at this level, think of how many more people that we can bring together. Particularly at my firm, the way we work is we work project to project. And so you work for this client for 3 or 6 months, and then you might go on to somewhere else, Just speaking to, a few of my colleagues and just noticing, I've been here for 7 years. So many times you'll see people of diverse or minority backgrounds may not get staffed on an engagement as quickly as their counterparts. or they might get staffed on a project that, doesn't really fit their skill, but who's speaking up for them, but these are individual cases. So my thing is, if we all are aware of these cases and can put together our leadership and our network, how can we really advance as a whole, as a collective? And so, again, I was just thinking about the Black Panther. I don't want to be cliche, but like literally we banded together and we did something. Yeah. So as it relates with my work, we've actually started doing like a bi-weekly call. Literally, some of the African American managers at my level across the entire practice, we get together and we talk about like who's on the bench, who needs a project that looks like us, what are we selling, how can we staff them, right? So we try to still work to staff our own, not exclusively, but priority, right? Because no matter what Deloitte, may pour into everyone as a foundation of development investment, we want to make sure that our own is not by the wayside. And I mean, this is a whole other conversation. It can go into like bringing background, environment for how they come in, sometimes with one hand tied behind their back, versus our counterparts even just being successful in this organization. So it's important just to cultivate across, all relationships. When I am staffing up a project, I'll be candid. I'm looking for me. I'm looking for Brown. I'm looking for women. I'm looking for folks who need a shot. I'm looking for people that I'm willing to put some time investment in because, I'm not going to be here forever. So I need you to come behind me. And so it's so important. It's so extremely important in corporate to really band together.
Right.
To really have a voice.
To really have a voice, to be the advocate. And I love the fact that you're strategizing and not just looking for, you know what you're looking for. You are coming together as a community, even if it's a small one, to say, all right, let's see what we can identify as some points that we can actually really mentor people, and we can invite them to come in, and we can hire them, and we can grow them and stretch them. So you're thinking about longevity, but you're not doing it by yourself. You're doing it with a group of Black professionals Black and other minority professionals who are interested in making sure that there's more diversity in your field.
Exactly. And I like the way you put that. It's about a strategy. I think oftentimes, just in corporate in general, all industries, but, you have a bad day, you have your friend, you message and you ping with about, let me vent, let me talk about things. And so, definitely as minorities, we can get together and say like, oh gosh, can you believe this is happening or that's happening? And, you definitely want your opportunity to vent because we all need that. But the strategy and the action piece, it's like, let's not just vent and get it out for the moment, but it's like, how are we going to turn this into action? How are we being strategic? Again, how are we working together to like really strengthen our voice to actually get some change done? And so I'm very proud of the group that I'm with, that we're able to, kind of come together and put some action behind, what we think is wrong or how we try to fix certain issues.
Mm-hmm. I think that's great, and I think that's brilliant, and I think that's smart. And it's heartfelt, because if you're not doing something because you mean it, then you're not. Why do it?
Exactly. Yep.
And one of the things that I also really love and appreciate about you, because you do spend so much time working and you spend so much time traveling, as you mentioned, you touched on it briefly, but because of your client, you go to your client wherever that client may be located, and you can be there for extended periods of time working touch point to touch point with that client. So that often leads you to travel most of the weeks of the year. And so with that time commitment that is required of you, it is very important to do what my pastor said, Cheryl Weems from the Leviticus Church in Richmond, is to practice the pause. You are very intentional about making sure that you are enjoying life, that you are protecting the time that you need to release, relax, and enjoy the life that you've worked so hard for. So tell us a little bit about that, how you're able to strike that work life balance.
Yeah. Man, let me tell you, it's the number one thing. It's self-care, and it's so important. And and I'm not gonna sit here and talk like I've been living the self-care creed this whole time, right? But what I can share with others is it's important to start now. I see so many young practitioners or young professionals that are just starting out that's like, I'm a grind now. Like, I'm not going to sleep, and, I'm going to do this until I make it to the top, and then I can post. Well, let me say this. Yes, you do grind. Like, I'm not saying kick back. No. You're right to grind now, but grind to an extent. Be a conscious grind. Like, don't ignore your health. Don't ignore, the practice, the pause, right? Because when you get to the top, I mean, in 2018, like, people aren't coasting anymore. So I also wanted to dispel that myth as well. But so for me, why it's important to have work-life balance is the self-care. It is, in this industry and environment, and I say in 2018, like, anxiety, stress, mental health is real. Just with the general distractions and the complexities that we have in our society today, like, it's different from when our parents, were around. They were battling their own things, but we're still carrying that battle. And then, some, it's not as blatant anymore, but there's so many distractions and so many complexities that weigh on the mental. So my thing is, how do you sustain yourself? How are you going to be good at work, good for your clients, if you're burnt out? And that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of young professionals are like burning out sooner than later because they neglect their bodies. And, that's not what we want if we're trying to, all move together, make progress, and be successful. And so for me, it's about, I have fun on the weekends. If someone's getting married, I'm there. It's a baby shower, I'm there. Friends and family have become so important to me in those moments. I don't have children yet, but like, that doesn't discount the moment to go to my friend's wedding or my family cookout or things like that. And so fostering those relationships and being there, that's what energizes me. Like, that's what gives me the strength. That's what, when I'm grinding at work, I think about those things, and it's like, this is what I'm working for. That's my motivation. And so that work-life balance is so important. And I tell people, like, take a day off. Like, and every time you take a day off or, vacation, it doesn't have to be vacation. We don't have to fly, go somewhere, the beach. It could be a staycation, stay at home, take a run, eat better, work out, just decompress and get some headspace. Just think, just reflect. You don't have to work 24/7. And I don't know. That's one thing I coach against, so much. The first thing I always ask some of my coachees is, like, when's your next vacation? What are you doing? When's your next break? I don't want you to burn out. I want you to take care of yourself. So it's important to me, and I work it in. As you know, I live my life to the fullest. I pack my weekends with so much joy and so much happiness and fun. And that's what really sustains me, and it really strengthens me to go out and face those challenges that I do every week at work. Again, just going back to the top of our conversation, being one of the onlys working in a pretty white male-driven industry. I know what I have behind me, and I know what I'm protecting. I'm protecting my time. I'm protecting my happiness. And I do that through work-life balance.
I love that. Protecting my time.
Yes. Woo. The reclaiming my time.
Oh, with Congresswoman Maxine Waters. That's right. That's right. You don't even have to reclaim your time because you're protecting it before it's encumbered.
Yes.
Yes. I love that. Protecting my time. Absolutely. I oftentimes, when I hear that, and I'm working I'm trying to work toward a better work-life balance. That is actually a goal that I've set for myself for 2018, to make sure that I'm not exhausted all the time, because you want to keep going and keep going and keep going. But then one thing that when I think about the 23rd Psalm, and I think I heard Iyanla Vanzant talk about this too. In the 23rd Psalm, David was saying, this is the one when he was saying, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, the whole 23rd Psalm. I mean, a lot of Baptist children know that Psalm. Nevertheless, you grew up Baptist, you know it. Nevertheless, it gets to a point where he says, thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. And when we think about that, I've had to try to really consider, what does that mean? And so if the oil is running down, it's certainly going to bless other people. Your gifts will bless other people. Your time and talents will bless other people, but it can't overflow if it's not full. So you have to be on full in order to be able to bless other people. Like, you can't have overflow if your cup is empty. You can't have, you can't be energized if you are not getting the proper rest. And that's one thing that I've had to really, I'm working on disciplining my own self about. And I know that as a millennial, we think we can do everything.
Oh, yeah.
Because we can. but we struggle, just like you said, to really strike that moderation, or to strike that median. And it doesn't necessarily have to be equal time. It doesn't have to be equal in quantity, but it has to be fair in quality.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so
I like
well, thank you. You've inspired me on nugget dropping. In considering that, and all the work that you're doing to cultivate, to continue to perfect your gift and your craft, what ultimately do you hope to achieve through your endeavors, whether that is through community engagement, corporate engagement? What do you hope to achieve in the legacy of Lynn? What would that be?
So I'll say twofold, two things. The corporate engagement piece. For me, it's about the bias. And sometimes it's unconscious bias. But being at my level and having a seat at the table, as we talked about earlier, I also mentioned it's about how you represent. And so, I do have to play the game. I do have to sit through some golf conversations, have to sit through some, I went sailing this weekend conversations. And so when people come to me, it's like, so Lynn, what did you do this weekend? Or like, when it's my time to have my soundbite, it's like, what do I say? Especially like maybe when over the weekend there was another killing of a young Black man, by the police, or some type of other injustice, So I actually make it my point to inject some of that into the conversation. Like, I'm very tactful, but I make sure that they hear it. Like, I'll be honest, like 90% of the time at work, you might make me uncomfortable just by like excluding me from conversations, what you guys are talking about. So I think it's only fair for you to like understand where I'm coming from. And so actually, interesting story. I'm from Baton Rouge, and if folks are familiar, Alton Sterling is from Baton Rouge, and that's where the killing happened. And I was actually home during that time, and around the 4th of July, and I went into the office. I was at a West Coast client, so I flew back to Oakland that Monday after it happened. And this shocked my world. I mean, one, I'm in Baton Rouge, so it's really going to rock my world, and I was there. But it rocked the Black community, and I went to work, and people were just business as usual.
Right.
And so everybody's like, what'd you do this weekend? What'd you do this weekend? And I was like, oh, great. I can't wait. I can't wait till someone asks me what happened. And I was like, yeah, well, I was in Baton Rouge this weekend. You folks know I was at my, family reunion. And I was like, well, unfortunately, a Black man was killed. An unarmed Black man was killed like while I was there. And I was like, Alton Sterling, did you guys see it on the news? And they were like, are you okay? I was like, I was like, yeah, I'm okay. I wasn't there, but I wasn't like at the scene, but I was like, but my city is in turmoil right now. It's in an uproar and there's protests, and I'm just concerned about my city's safety. So I did it tactfully, but I could see the backpedaling of some of the senior leadership, like, oh, okay, well, let's, dive into the agenda. But it's like, I just continue to inject those things, when I can, like, be your best authentic self at work. Like, don't mute yourself, and try to take down those biases, So when it comes to, even that whole kind of bringing together our minority resources and staffing them on projects, like even talking to some senior leadership, well, why don't you give XYZ a shot? Well, I don't know his background. Well, great, I'm here to tell you about his background,
Right.
and here's why he'll be good for this. And so, well, I've never worked with him before. You've never worked with ABC either. So, how are you giving some favoritism over here and that? And so I don't mind. I don't shy away from having those difficult conversations. So it's around corporate engagement, like it's around that bias. And, they see me. I don't know if I'm sure they see color, but it's like Lynn, you're good. But we
Right.
don't know about, all and it's like, no, I'm good and they're good, and I'm willing to vouch for them. And so that should mean something. And so like my legacy as far as the corporate environment is, and from what I do as far as coaching people, is getting more minorities into those management positions. And it's not even executive coaching. Like I want to coach young, and I do coach young professionals. Like you have to start with this population. It's so critical because if you burn out at, this young age, you're never going to make it to the top or that executive level. And then the second piece around, community engagement. Actually, my significant other, he has an organization called Black Republic and Company, and so I just support them and their mission. I'm so involved and so supportive of what they're doing. It's really bringing together the Black community in difficult conversations about our community, conversations we need to have, connecting our community. They only use Black vendors, or, they kind of get that community Rolodex together to where, like, if you need a caterer and you need a photographer, like, they have that, like, okay, well, we know, and we can connect people. And just being able to have those discussions around what's plaguing our community. And, like, again, I'll say cliche, but like the Black Panther, like how can we all come together on certain issues to really push something forward? And so my community engagement around that is, definitely supporting that mission. I believe in it, and sparking the conversation however we can and putting action to that conversation is what, I'm motivated by and would like to have. As a piece of my legacy too. Like, what did I do to bring more cohesion to the Black community? Because I'm just so, I keep talking about Black Panther, but the way we came together for that, like, man, if we could come together on so many other things like that, like, we have the power and we just flexed it. But like, I'm just waiting to see what we do next. November's coming soon, so we'll see what happens with elections.
That's so true.
Yeah, those are the two things I'm really like, passionate about and want to have some impact on.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. I agree with you. It's so interesting. My husband actually is working on an organization that does something similar to what your significant other is doing, and really just trying to ensure that we prioritize the Black dollar in a way that continues to help in the cultivation of our community and meeting our needs. And also just kind of building a network of strong African American organizations that are willing to pour into one another, to break down the stigma of unreliability, and to really continue the conversation about expanding our dollar, or expanding the power of our dollar, not expanding our dollar, expanding the power of our dollar beyond entertainment. Black Panther is something that is absolutely amazing, and I certainly credit it for so many things, for really bringing to the surface diasporic discussions that we need to have, for talking about the issues within the diaspora, and also demonstrating the strength of the diaspora to the world. And it's something that it is my sincere hope that will not just be concentrated on entertainment, that we can continue to synchronize our money in a direction of, really flexing our economic muscle, really coming together and demonstrating our political strength. So like you said, November is coming. For Virginia, we have Democratic primaries in June. And so making sure that we go out and we hit the pavement and we vote and we register all the time. Those are social justice components are just so near and dear, because it's something that when we're thinking about this concept of legacy, and I know you were talking about it earlier in our conversation about going to the first African American high school in Baton Rouge. So that's critical. And so in considering that thing, it's not just, I always say that it's not just a privilege or a right. It's not a right. It's a civic responsibility to ensure that we are active and we are engaged. So I applaud you and your significant other for continuing to carry that torch and to encourage more people to participate in the discussion. Not just to participate in the discussion, but to actually put feet to pavement to that thing. So just really fantastic work. So that, I was going to ask you what was near and dear to your heart. You have actually talked a lot about some of those things, unless there's anything else you want to share about some things that are near and dear to your heart that you want to share with the people today.
I would just say, take care of yourself. Everybody wants to be successful. You have cheerleaders that want you to be successful. I think so often especially around millennials, we have this unicorn complex. Because growing up, we might have been the first to go to college, or we were that one person in our family that's like straight A's, like, you're gonna do it, you're gonna go to the top, and then you get to college and you see all the other valedictorians,
Right.
Or then you get to this corporate work environment and you see all the other top of their class and all these other type A people. But you have that unicorn complex because you're special and you're going to make a difference, and your community is depending on you. And your family is depending on you for that achievement, that recognition. And so I feel like literally, folks can carry that on their shoulder walking into every meeting every day at work. Like, I got my community over here, Black women over here, I want to do my best. And it's like all these things, and I'm the unicorn, I'm special. And so I feel like when we reach a point of adversity or a challenge that we can't figure out, or it takes us a little bit longer to navigate, we lose steam, we lose confidence, we burn out. We're anxious, it's stressful, and that comes with health impacts. It all ties together, and it's just like, I try to coach people is, don't take that weight, all of that weight, because you can't carry it all alone, right? And so it's how you manage it. It's how you get others and reach out for help. We're big on that, reaching out for help, because like we have to do it. And so it's just learning to like take care of yourself, take care of others, and just know you don't have to carry all that weight. But like I still say, but represent. What is your legacy? What will you contribute? You're at the table. How are you going to leverage this position to squeeze somebody else in at the table? Take it in little chunks, but don't just think, oh, I have this position now, I have to change the role, or like I'm going into this meeting and I have all this weight on me. And that's the fastest way to burn out, the fastest way to take yourself out of the race. And so that's why I just kind of coach folks is like steady the race bit by bit and take care of yourself. Because if you're not well, then all those hopes and dreams that you had, like, you won't even be able to accomplish that because you didn't take good care of yourself. So take care of yourself.
Take care of yourself.
Important.
It's critical, because if you don't, Whew. If you don't, if you don't, your body will shut you right down.
Oh, it'll let
It
you
will
know.
let you know. So I have a two-part question for you.
Sure.
What is something that you have accomplished in your short life
Okay.
that you are absolutely proud of achieving? That's one. And then what is the thing to, if, and it's different from your legacy. What legacy do you hope to leave behind? But what is one thing in the trajectory of your life that you hope to accomplish before your, not just your career is over, but before the life of Lynn is then, right, a complete legacy? So what is something that you're proud that you've accomplished and something that you aspire to achieve?
Sure. Proud. So I say proud that I accomplished would be probably my career so far. For me, it's I like to show people the possible. I didn't chart my career out. I didn't sit down. Like I didn't start like I want to be a consultant. I didn't even know what that was probably 10 years ago fully. But it's like reinventing yourself. Like don't box yourself in. So I did highlight a little bit of my background when I started. You know, I was at Spelman. I was a math chemistry double major. I lived in the science lab. I researched every summer at NASA. I was that person. Like I was going to pharmacy school. Like I was the science lab rat. Had been all my life. Did the STEM programs in middle and high school. And I'm all for STEM, but like that was my life. And I was like, well, I want to do something different. I literally rebelled my last year of college. I was like, well, I'm going to be a pharmacist, but like I've done science my whole life. Like I want to do something different. So like, long story short, went to a Goldman Sachs information session with a friend. Like she wanted support. And I said, sure, I'll go. And I just started learning more about investment banking and like they use numbers, they're analytical. I was like, I'm analytical. I do those things, you know, and just being able to tell that story. And I had that opportunity. So here I am, a unicorn. One of those from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, valedictorian, doing well at Spelman, and now it's like, you want to go to Wall Street? I was like, why not? You know? And so threw me into the fire or the deep end with no life jacket. And I figured out how to swim. We will all figure out how to swim. And I did that for 3 years. And I shocked myself. Like I was not in my mind supposed to be there. The white guys to my left and my right even told me in so many words, like, how did you get here? You are not supposed to be here. And I was like, well, it looks like I'm sitting on the same row. I was sitting on the front row because of my last name, but I was like, looks like I'm sitting on the front row with you. So I guess I am supposed to be here. I was talking. I'm not going to lie. I was talking. But those legs were churning underneath that water. I was like, oh, but when I go home tonight, I'm going to study this finance book. So I can know these banking terms by tomorrow. But it's like, I used to sit at the table literally and figuratively. Like I was given that seat at the table and it's like, what am I going to do with it? I could have been so overwhelmed over that summer. Like I was 2 to 3 years behind my counterparts. These white boys were going to Wharton for 4 years to get an investment banking job at Goldman. I got one in 2 months. So it was like, what are you going to do with this opportunity? And so I was like, I'm going to conquer it. Why not? Like the Lord would not have put me here or this opportunity if I wasn't equipped or I didn't have the right tools to get through it to be successful. So I did that for 3 years. Then I went to business school at Duke. I mean, I wanted to be a hospital administrator at that point, trying to get back to healthcare. And I went to school to be a hospital administrator. Midway through school, I was like, I don't know if I want to work in one hospital. And ended up getting involved in human capital consulting. And I was like, I've never done consulting, don't really travel for work, but you reinvent yourself. And that's my accomplishment. Even when I talk to people now, they're like, oh, you went from NASA to Goldman, banking. I actually did some human capital work at Goldman as well, to business school, hospital administration, to now doing consulting for executive leadership in hospitals. So there is some connectivity, but it's like, keep reinventing yourself. Don't get boxed in. Know that whatever you decide to do or the path you take, you will be given the tools, or you shall seek the tools. That will be a plan for you. But don't be boxed in. And so I would think that that is one of my greatest accomplishments, that I just continue to evolve. And then, my legacy, or what I hope to accomplish in the future, it kind of all ties into that. Like, I want to be a great example to someone, by how I lived and how I've helped others. I know that sounds very cliche, but that is how I approach every day. We live in such a busy environment. We're always busy. We're always rushing. I mean, my days are planned down to the minute, but I decided about 4 years ago that I would be present. I told myself, you will be present in every moment, because prior to that, I was just so busy, and I was talking to you, but I was thinking about my next thing. So I wasn't giving you 100% of my time. You had my presence, but I wasn't present. And so now I pride myself on being present in every situation. So if we're only meeting for 30 minutes, I won't check my phone. Like, you will have my undivided attention. How can I help you for these 30 minutes? I am engaged. I'm tracking the story. We're going to figure it out. And so, that's how I live my life. I'm very giving of my time. I'm very giving of myself. I feel like I've had some great experiences that can help others, and I want to share that story. If I can help you do something differently, take a different path, or even the path I've taken, if you so choose, how can I help you leverage my experience to do that? And so I'm so passionate about just engaging one-on-one and making those connections, really figuring out how to help people get to the next level, however they define that. So I like to show people the possible and help them achieve it. And that's what I'm hoping to accomplish.
That's beautiful. Really beautiful. People want to get in contact with you if they want to learn more about what you're doing, because I know that your days, just like you said, are planned out. You are protective of those weekends. Then what is the best way if someone has a question to get in contact with you? I imagine it would probably be via email or something like that, but if someone needs to inquire about components of the journey that you've taken, or how to perfect their craft, can they reach you?
Yes, you can add me on LinkedIn, Lynn Belvitt, Lynn Belvitt, B as in boy, EL, B as in Victor, ITT. Or you can send me an email at bbelvitt, BBELVITT @gmail.com. If you do reach out, just reference this talk. Like, I am so open to talking to people about my journey, about their journey, any connections I may have that folks are looking to leverage. Like I said, if you add me on LinkedIn, feel free to reach out. Like, that is the whole point and premise I've been trying to get across, with this talk today, is that, us as a community, we have to work together. We have to work together. So if I have something that you need, or I know someone that can get you connected to what you're doing, don't be afraid to reach out. Again, you can't do it all by yourself. And then, just us coming together, the power of one. If we could just get on, we don't have to get on one page. We could all get on the same book. We can be unstoppable. So yeah, if I can help anybody in any way, let me know. You can attest, my friends can attest. I'm here. So just let me know. Feel free to reach out if anybody wants to chat further.
That's great. So Lynn, I just want to thank you so much for joining me on this segment today. Guys, please make sure that you view this program in its entirety, that you put it on repeat, because you want to tap into this wealth of knowledge. She is a treasure who is giving of her time and of her energy, because she wants to cultivate the greatness in our community. So please reach out if you have any questions. I thank you again for tuning into this segment of Business Acumen with Cross Cultural Talks. I am your host, Robinette Cross. Join us same time, same place next week, 8:00 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will see you there. Don't forget to go and be great on purpose. God bless you.
So, thank you.
Lynn, thank you so much. You are amazing.
Thank you.